Thank you for that, MK. That was really beautiful. My name is Phil Leber, and it's a privilege to be speaking with you here this morning. I'm obviously not Susie. There's no one like Susie. And she's on holiday. She's actually cruising the Mediterranean, going to the Holy Land, and really wonderful. She works tirelessly to serve us here at Unity, and she's so appreciated. Speaking of that, the other day, I heard some kids talking about what their parents did. And one of them said, you know, my dad scribbles a few words on a piece of paper and he calls it a poem, and they give him $50 for it. And then the other little kid said, well, that's nothing. My dad scribbles some stuff on a paper and calls it a song, and they give him $200 for that. The third guy said, hey, I got you both beat. My mom is a minister, and she scribbles a few words, and she calls it a sermon, and it takes 8 people to pick up all the money with the pots. So we all have something that draws us to the vocation and the avocations that we have in life. This morning, I was asked to talk about my journey here to Unity. And most of us come from some kind of varied background. We come from different spiritual walks. That's what I love about Unity of Sarasota, the whole Unity movement, is that we can be from so many different places and come together in unity. Mine is not an extraordinary journey. It's just an example of divine destiny. Fate. Laurel, my wife, calls it Bashert. It's a Yiddish word that means it is meant to be. Bashert moments are not isolated. They are followed one after the other during our lifetime. Sometimes the significance of those moments is missed until we look back on them and we see what they meant to us in our lives. Mine are strung together a bit like this necklace that our guests were given this morning. Seashells that represent each one of us. Well, mine, each one of these seashells represents a Bashert moment in my life. And I'm not sure when the first shell got on the string, when it would have been in my life. It could be that it goes all the way back to when I was a kid and my brother taught me how to play guitar, and that music has been in my soul and in my life for the whole rest of my life. I think that's shell number 1. I think that's Bashert number 1. I know what the last one is. The last one is me standing here today. That's everything that makes up my life has led to me being here today. And what I do today will lead me to what I do tomorrow. I want to introduce Laurel. Some of you don't know her. We met in 2002. Why don't you stand, Laurel? That's my wife, Laurel. Yeah. We met in 2010 in what was probably one of the most important Bashert moments of my whole life. I didn't even know what Bashert was until I met her. We were both coming out of loss. She had lost her husband of 42 years to a disease, and I had come out of a divorce, and we met in a most unusual way. It would take the whole time for me to tell you about that, but I won't. But we came with different spiritual roots. I was Anglican, Episcopalian, and Laurel is Jewish. And the melding of those two backgrounds and those two spiritual experiences in life has been one of the most extraordinary things for me. Because I've always felt that I have had in my life a bit of the Jewish heritage. Not because I found it on 23andMe or any of these other sites, but because I've always had a love for the Jewish people. I've always had a sensitivity and an earnest desire to pray for Israel and Jerusalem, and the foundation of the Old Testament rests in that culture. And when I met Laurel, now I'm coming out of, I had been in Africa and I had been a missionary over there, right? And I met Laurel, and she introduced me to the Center for Spiritual Awareness. Some of you may know Reverend Duffy over there. They're no longer there, but she introduced me to that place, and I first heard about Ernest Holmes and science of the mind and the law of attraction and manifesting and positive energy and all that stuff, which I used to call woo-woo stuff. But there were some fundamental ideas that just drew my heart to that place, and therefore drew me even closer to this woman. Fundamental ideas about caring and love. First for myself. If I can't love myself, then how am I going to love other people? I mean, I had probably heard these things, but they were just ingrained in me when I started going to a New Thought congregation. It found a home in my heart, and Laurel's book, Emerging Voices, recounts her experience in her spiritual experience. And there's a poem in there called Come Home to Your Heart, which is a picture of her inner beauty, and I fell in love with that. And also, she asked me to take it and do a song, and some of you have heard me do that song, Come Home. Well, anyway, one thing led to the next, and we were married in July of 2014 out on Lido Beach, and the Center for Spiritual Awareness closed, and we were looking for a spiritual home. And we were looking for a message of unconditional love and acceptance where the Spirit flows freely and powerfully, and we found it here in Unity of Sarasota. Our hearts found a home, and another seashell found a place on my necklace of Bashert moments. Now we're all in. I mean, we have a collection of crystal singing bowls, and we have Himalayan salt lamps. And we listen to Diva Premal and Karen Drucker and David Young, and the smell of essential oils running through our house, and we namaste people we don't even know. I even went to a Reiki session with Laurel's best friend here, Hannah, and she did this woo-woo thing over me. I mean, we are all in. But like everybody here, there's a backstory to that whole thing. How on earth did I get here? And I need to rewind a bit, and because there's a lot more shells on this necklace, and I'm not going to tell you about them all, it'll take too long. But I was an attorney for 18 years. A lot of you don't know that I moved from this law to grace thing in my life, and I really enjoyed doing law. You know, I was in D.C. I think there are more lawyers per capita in D.C., maybe more lawyers than people in Washington, D.C. But I have to tell you, my most fulfilling experience all those years was singing and teaching in a spirit-filled Anglican church, which sounds like an oxymoron, but it was true. And during the 1980s, I had two dreams that really shook me to the core. They kind of laid the foundation for things to come in my life. In the first one, I was in this battle, and I was horribly disfigured by being shot up or something. And somebody picked me up and took me into this sheltered place and laid me down on a table. And it was bright light all over the place, and I couldn't see. I just felt just totally disfigured. And this person that picked me up was trying to cleanse me and all. And he said something to me. He said, "You look in a mirror and you see devastation. I look on the inside of you and I see goodness." I woke up crying like I'm about to. And I began to write all of this down. What on earth did this mean? And then there was a second dream where I woke up and I remembered that I had been on a giant hamster wheel, you know, trying to make my way on a hamster wheel, and there were a lot of other people on this hamster wheel, and they're falling off, and they're falling down into this abyss, and I'm going like a little rabbit or a hamster, trying to stay on that wheel. And when I woke up, I thought, is this what I'm on as an attorney in Washington, D.C., where your life is given over to the work that you do? And so in the 1990s, I began to do some traveling. And I went overseas on short-term mission trips, and it began to open my life up to its true purpose. First, as an attorney, I went with groups of attorneys going over. It was 1989, 1990, 1991, when the Iron Curtain was being destroyed and the walls were caving in, and those countries wanted help in restructuring their constitution or their rights and privileges to try to be more democratic. We see where a lot of that went, but I was part of the help to try to do that. Then I went as a musician and a singer and a teacher, and I was teaching about this thing that was in my heart about the music having an impact on our spiritual lives, getting us in touch with God and heavenly things, and how does that happen? And I began to understand something important in my life, that I can do something to make a difference in the lives of others. It's not all about me. It's not all about success and trying to climb a ladder of corporate or material success. It's about helping. And more seashells began to accumulate on this thing. And in 1993, I was invited to Uganda, East Africa. I didn't even know where it was at the time. I knew it was on the continent, but I didn't know exactly where it was. And I went over with a team of men and women who were musicians and teachers and songwriters and singers like I was, and we went over to teach about the power of music to engage the Spirit of God. And it was an amazing experience. And on my second trip, being called back there in 94, went back and did it again. And we developed teams of Ugandans who would go out with us, and they would teach. So it was like we were teaching teachers to carry this on. And while I was on that trip, there was this internal message to my heart. I believe it to this day that it was from God. And it said, "This is what I have made you to do." And I was an attorney. I thought, oh my gosh, I mean, can you imagine the fear that built into that, not knowing what on earth that would mean? This? I thought it was that. But I was filled with a sense of purpose, knowing that it was the right thing to do. I even wrote a song. One of the nights when I was preparing to go over to Africa on this trip, I woke up in the middle of the night, about 3 in the morning, and I had this song on my mind, and it was, "I never knew you'd show me the way so clearly. I never knew you'd pour down your love so dearly." I thought, wow, what are you doing in my life? What does that Bashert moment mean to me in my life? In 1998, we ended up moving to Africa. I had 2 boys who were 12 and 7 at the time. My 12-year-old didn't know exactly what to do with a totally new country. My youngest boy just loved the lizards and all that stuff that he could catch. And so we began this adventure of our lives. But it was an adventure that meant so much more to me and to my family. My boys grew up. We were there for 12 years. I went over for 3, and we ended up staying 12 years. And my sons were impacted in an extraordinary way with an understanding of what it's like in 2/3 of the world out there. You know, we live in this bubble here, and it's a wonderful place. I love having the freedoms and the prosperity and the things that we have here. But many times, we don't have a clue to what goes on outside of this wonderful bubble we call the United States of America. And I used to drive countless miles over rutted, dusty roads, and I was teaching all over East Africa. Slept in wherever I could, grass huts, and they would invite me, and I would go and I would say, there are no hotels, there's no, none of the accoutrements that we grow accustomed to here. But sometimes over the course of that, I used to wonder, am I really making a difference? I mean, they talk about dropping a pebble in a bucket of water, and there are ripples that go out. But if you drop that pebble in a pond, you see the ripples for just a bit, and then they're gone. And I thought, is that all that I'm doing? I really wonder if I'm really making a difference here. But there was a trip, one of the trips that I went on. There were teams of people who used to come from the United States, and I would lead them to different places in East Africa where they would do work. And one of those trips we had a team of corporate folks from the United States who all came. They wanted to see what they could do in East Africa. What could they do to help? And we went out to, in the far reaches, out in the western part of Uganda, out towards Rwanda, in the mountains where the gorillas are. And there's a lake there called Lake Bunyoni. And it is unbelievable. It's like Switzerland or something. It's not peaked and jagged, it's hills and all, but the lake is just beautiful. Clear water, you can actually swim in it. It's one of the few places that you can swim without having critters come all over. Yeah, but this lake was absolutely stunning, and everybody's looking at what they could do, and it was almost romantic to see the dugout canoes coming across the lake and going to market and all that. And one of the people. One of the local Ugandans told one of the people in our group that they had a terrible thing that went on in this lake. Big, beautiful lake. They've been there for eons, right? And they have these dugout canoes that they use. And he said, so many people die from those dugout canoes. Why? Well, the dugout canoes are so unstable that they fall over and people fall in and they die because they drown. Well, the person that he was talking to happened to be the CEO of the same company that makes Hillary tents and canoes and other camping things. And he thought, that's why I came. I came here so I could provide what I have, what our company makes, and we'll do that. And he said, and so in this big group, they're having the closing ceremony, and they're bringing up food from down the hill and all that. And he stands up and he says, I know why I'm here. We have decided, I've talked to the people back in the States, and we've decided that we're going to put a container of canoes together, and we're going to send as many as we can get in a 40-foot container, and we're going to send them to this place, and we're going to distribute them. No cost to you, we're just going to bring them, and it'll help. And everybody claps. They're sitting down for dinner. And one of the Ugandan leaders was sitting next to that man. Everybody's thanking him and all. And the Ugandan leader says to him, he says, we really appreciate your heart in wanting to help. We appreciate it so much. But I just want you to know that really we don't need those canoes. What we need are people to come here and teach us how to swim. They don't want our things. They want our time. They want us. And with that trip, I knew I was in the right place. In 2003, we heard some stories of some horrible things going on up in the northern part of Uganda, where children were being abducted by a renegade rebel contingent of Ugandans who nobody knows what they were fighting for, but they're just killing people. And they were stealing the kids. They were stealing little boys as young as 8, and they were teaching them how to become German shepherds with AK-47s. They would kill at 8 years old. And they would grab the little girls, and they'd make them into sex slaves and make them marry the leaders in this rebel group. And it was just horrifying to hear some of the stories that were brought back by the children who survived, who would get away. Somehow they'd make it through the jungle and get back to their village after 6 or 7 years, and they were expected to somehow come back into their village life after being in that kind of a situation where they had seen horrific things. One child told of his parents being killed in front of him by boiling them alive. How does a child get over seeing that? How does a child ever come back? And that's what we were trying to do, was to help them when they came back. We realized that we could not stand by in silence. We had to do something. So we went north to help the children. I have a brief video that I want to show you that is an excerpt from a documentary that was done about the work that we were involved in called Sing Uganda. And if we could put that on, I just want you to see. It'll give you an idea.
We want you to sing like they could hear you in America.
What that has involved for me is a great deal of travel throughout Uganda, visiting any of the dioceses that will invite me, where the bishop invites me to come. And it means going out into the villages and spending time with worship teams, with the leaders of the church, with clergy, lay readers, anyone who desires to come and learn about the power and presence of the Holy Spirit in our worship.
Otuko tendereza.
Amen.
They're so thirsty and so hungry for some word from God that will give them hope in their lives. We cannot imagine the difficulties that they bear. My heart was just overwhelmed with the sense that the Lord was reaching out his hand and touching the hearts of each one of these kids. And they were really engaging the heart of God. And I know that he was pleased. You know, as you look out over the crowd of these kids and you begin to eye engage many of them, you just wonder, what kind of pain and what kind of sorrow and suffering have these kids been through? What kind of traumatic life are they leading?
Outcast, lonely or afraid, I will change your name. Your new name shall be
Each one of us can do something to make a difference in the lives of others. We were given the opportunity to touch lives in Africa because we were willing to face our fears and our misgivings with faith. Spent 12 years there, came back in 2009, and I left a huge part of me there. I want a part of my heart to go back when I die. Now, here I am at Unity of Sarasota. And I'm with my parents and my brother who live here, and rekindled relationships with them, and I can pursue my purpose in music. Laurel's pursuing her purpose in art and in writing. And we have found our purpose. So what's the takeaway from this story today? I'd like to answer that question with another. I'd like to invite you to ask yourself, what can I do to make a difference? You don't have to go to Africa. You don't have to go outside the state. For some of you, you don't even have to go outside your neighborhood. Bashert moments are like signposts on the road to your purpose in life. Where do your signposts lead? What's your purpose? Each one of us has one of these. Necklace of seashells. You know how you can pick up one of those big conch shells and put it to your ear and listen? And you can actually hear things going on there. I've had people have had experiences imagining what's going on inside that seashell. Listen to your Bashert moments. Each one of us can do something to make a difference in the world, to make a difference in the lives of others. Only takes one person to change that can influence the world. And we can have a part in that. Thank you, God, within me and all around me. I want to do something. Usually we have a song that Rob leads us in right after that. I want to do something a little bit unusual today. The song you heard me singing to those kids, I want to teach it to you. And it's not a hard song to sing. The words are up there. Sure. Yeah, right. No, I'm going to teach it to you. We're taking it in little pieces. Say this with me. Yesu ni wangu. Unbelievable. Look at the rest of it. Wauzima wa milele. Isn't that cute? So, Yesu ni wangu. Wauzima wa milele. And the echo is you. So I'm going to sing it, and then you're going to follow it. So it'll be easy, right? Yeah. Yesu ni wangu. Wauzima wa milele. And then the next part is wauzima, and the echo is wa milele. Wauzima. Wauzima. Okay. And then the last part is a lot of fun. The kids really love this song because they get all excited when they go, hey Yahweh, 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 hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey Yahweh. That's all it is. But it's a lot of fun. Who can't speak that one, right? Let's do it. Hey Yahweh, 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 hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey Yahweh. All right, now we're going to do this with this drum. And this drum mimics an African djembe. My wife got me this drum because all of my drums were left in Africa, given away, or what have you. And so I didn't have one of my dear drums from Uganda, and now I have one, and it's called a djembe. It's a Kenyan drum, But, so we're going to do it to the beat of this drum. So, Yesu ni wangu wa uzima wa milele, 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 wa uzima milele, wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele. Hey Yahweh, 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 hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey Yahweh, hey Yahweh, 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 hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey Yahweh. Okay, you guys did great. Now we're going to step it up just a bit, and you're going to be able to do this right with me. Yesu ni wangu wa uzima wa milele, 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 wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele. Hey Yahweh, 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 hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey Yahweh, hey Yahweh, 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 hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey 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 Yahweh. Yesu ni wangu wa uzima wa milele, Yesu ni wangu wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele, wa uzima wa milele. Hey Yahweh, 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 hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey Yahweh, hey Yahweh, 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 hey Yahweh, Yahweh, hey 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 Yahweh, hey. You did it.
Look to the person to your left and say Yahweh. Look to the person to your right. Say Yahweh.